Chaos and insurgency filled the power vacuum for years. The war dragged on. Thousands of lives lost, billions spent, no weapons of mass destruction ever found. And yet the image of Saddam pulled from a hole remains iconic, not because it ended a war, but because it helped sell a narrative. One that, like Saddam's own regime, relied heavily on carefully constructed illusions. Imagine a small rural village in Iraq in the middle of the night. In 2003, a man is hiding inside an underground hole, its entrance covered with styrofoam. Suddenly, the streetlights in the entire village go out, and hundreds of U.S. soldiers begin sweeping through the town. As the troops reach a farmhouse, one soldier starts to unearth a rope, discovering that it leads to a hidden trap door. They prepare to throw a grenade inside just to be safe. But right before the pin is pulled, a pair of hands emerges from the hole, followed by a bearded man. With his hands in the air, he says, "My name is Saddam Hussein. I am the president of Iraq, and I want to negotiate. Ladies and gentlemen, we got him." Whether you know this moment from the iconic quote or the countless memes online, chances are you've never heard the full story. This is how Saddam Hussein was found. The hunt began with the U.S. invasion of Iraq in March 2003. My fellow citizens, at this hour, American and coalition forces are in the early stages of military operations to disarm Iraq, to free its people, and to defend the world from grave danger. The U.S. justified this war by claiming Saddam Hussein had weapons of mass destruction. There is no doubt that Saddam Hussein now has weapons of mass destruction, a claim that would later prove to be false. Despite the false premise, the invasion moved quickly. Coalition forces took Baghdad just 3 weeks after it began. But Saddam had vanished. In the capital, his statue was toppled in front of cameras. The regime was over, but the man himself, still missing. To track him and others, the U.S. military issued a deck of cards featuring the 52 most wanted officials. Saddam was the ace of spades. His sons Uday and Qusay were just below him. Then came the first break. 4 months into the war, someone walked into a U.S. base in Mosul claiming he was sheltering Saddam's sons. Troops rushed to the location and found them, Uday and Qusay, hiding in a mansion. A firefight broke out. Reinforcements arrived. A missile strike leveled the house. When the dust settled, both sons were dead. Even though they may never have turned Saddam in, their deaths triggered him to release an audio message mourning their loss, proof that he was still alive. The man who provided the tip received the full $30 million reward and was relocated to the U.S., a clear message that American bounties were real. But the trail went cold again. Raids turned up nothing. Innocents were caught in the chaos. The military seemed no closer. That's when Staff Sergeant Eric Maddox changed the game. While others hunted the old regime, Maddox theorized that Saddam was being protected not by politicians, but by his personal bodyguards, especially the elite group known as the Hamaya. Most of these guards came from one tribe, the Al-Muslit family. Maddox headed to Tikrit, Saddam's hometown, and began interrogating relatives. One name kept coming up: Mohammed Ibrahim Omar al-Muslit, one of Saddam's most trusted guards and now allegedly leading the resistance. To find him, Maddox worked his way through family members and associates. One small clue cracked the case: a simple detail from Mohammed's son, who mentioned that his father liked to go fishing at a pond he owned in Samarra. Maddox remembered a housekeeper once saying that Saddam's favorite meal was masgouf, a traditional fish dish. It clicked. Saddam would want fish. And if Mohammed was fishing, maybe he was also protecting Saddam. A raid on the fish farm turned up a fisherman, who led them to another relative, who led them to an uncle's apartment in Baghdad. Weak leads. But inside the apartment, to everyone's surprise, was Mohammed Ibrahim himself. Maddox offered him protection. In return, Mohammed gave up a location, the village of Ad-Dar. 2 farmhouses were searched. Nothing. Then Mohammed subtly pointed out a small shack north of the second house. Still, nothing inside. Then, with U.S. troops watching, Mohammed began kicking at something buried in the dirt. A rope. They pulled it. A trap door was revealed. They were just about to throw a grenade until a man climbed out. "My name is Saddam Hussein. I am the president of Iraq, and I want to negotiate. Ladies and gentlemen, we got him." The U.S. captured Saddam alive. His final hiding spot, a hole in the ground, was deliberately shown to the press. Photos of him disheveled, being examined by a doctor, circulated around the world. These images served a purpose. They erased the myth of the invincible dictator. Saddam had ruled with iron propaganda. Now, the U.S. was using its own imagery to dismantle that illusion. But though his capture was symbolic, it didn't end the war. There was no exit strategy. Chaos and insurgency filled the power vacuum for years. The war dragged on. Thousands of lives lost, billions spent. No weapons of mass destruction ever found. And yet the image of Saddam pulled from a hole remains iconic, not because it ended a war, but because it helped sell a narrative. One that, like Saddam's own regime, relied heavily on carefully constructed illusions.